Hello, everyone, and welcome to the dawn of Web3 through dCommerce data. It is great to have you here today. This is one of the first community updates we're doing on development activity here at Boson. I'm Richard Littauer. I'm the head of developer engagement at Boson Protocol. And we have some fantastic panelists. We're going to have a really good discussion today, so I'm super excited about it. We're talking mainly about the value of data in the dCommerce ecosystem today. And if we're talking about the value of data, we should talk about who's building the tools to work on that, which is why I'm really excited to have Bruce Pan on this today, because in the ever-expanding world of decentralization and Web3, rarely have two projects been better suited to work together than Boson and Ocean. So Ocean Protocol provides the infrastructure and marketplace to transact with data as a commodity, and Boson Protocol is building a capture-resistant open tokenized economy for commerce, which is automating digital to physical redemptions through NFTs, which have a lot of game theory involved with them. Super exciting. Can't wait to talk to Anish about that. So today we're going to explore how Boson and Ocean work together, as well as what this all means for the future of dCommerce, right? So we're joined today by Justin Bannon and Gregor Borosa, the two co-founders of Boson Protocol, as well as Bruce Pan, the founder of Ocean Protocol, as well as, I think, Big Chain DB. So two things at the same time, very efficient person. So let's start with some brief introductions and then we'll get going. So Justin Bannon, who are you?
My name's Justin Bannon. I'm one of the co-founders of Boson Protocol. I started out as a physicist and I ended up working for a company called Priority Pass, who quite simply sold products such as airport lounges as vouchers, paper vouchers, and I transformed them into a sort of a $1 billion revenue digital voucher company. And in some ways, you can think of Boson Protocol as sort of an extension of that, moving from digital to blockchain. And so, yeah, with Boson Protocol, I'm moving, if you like, from the kind of chief extraction officer of a Web2 platform to building out this kind of equitable, permissionless infrastructure for commerce.
Bruce, who are you?
Before Ocean, I helped found Ascribe, one of the very first blockchain companies in the world for digital artists and collectors. Essentially, what everybody now knows as NFTs. Before that, I helped co-found Avantalion, a consulting firm that helped to build 20 banks around the world for Mercedes, Volkswagen, Mitsubishi, and Jaguar Land Rover. So for Ocean, the mission that we have is simply to kickstart an open data economy. We want everybody to have agency in a future world where data is an asset, and we want to give power to both the owners as well as the people who need to use the data and break down some of the data silos. And we hope that Ocean can be one of the connective tissues for this new data economy.
Gregor, who are you?
So I'm a blockchain technologist, but my previous life I was lead engineer at banks and payment systems platform, so including Central Bank of Slovenia. Ever since 2013, I was in more and more in blockchain space, taught master's blockchain courses, blockchain architecture, consultant and developer. And just today I realized I spent as much time in blockchain tech as I did in legacy systems. So now the balance is from now on blockchain side, which is really cool. I have computer science background. Now I'm co-founder of Boson, building a team of technologists. At the moment, we're developing our initial use cases in art, gaming, loyalty, and more. Building our protocol integrations in NFT, DeFi, and open data economy.
Awesome, thank you. And last but not least, Anish, what are you doing here?
My name is Anish Mohammed. I help people generally. So I have 1 degree in medicine, 2 degrees in mathematics, been working on cryptography and security for the last 2 decades, and probably for the last 9 years in blockchain space. So started out being an early advisor to Ripple, then I got involved in Ethereum crew. So I'm one of the original reviewers of the orange paper, and I've worked with the Ethereum Swamp team. Then I ran into Trent and, worked with Trent a bit. And then I ran into both Justin and Gregor, and I'm helping them.
All right. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. If anyone needs more information, there's more online, and we'll be happy to provide links to that. Justin, first actual question for you. Can you tell us about Boson Protocol, right, and why data is important to the decentralized commerce in general?
So Boson Protocol is a new sort of foundational layer for Web3, and our aim is to disrupt these sort of traditional commerce platforms by building this open tokenized economy for commerce, and we do this really by automating the digital to physical redemption of real world items using NFTs encoded with game theory. So what that means is if you look at existing sort of e-commerce platforms, they kind of do two things. They coordinate these transactions at the exchange of sort of monetary or digital value for a physical thing. We use these NFTs encoded with game theory to do that. And then typically what they also do is hoard and monetize data. And so Boson Protocol also, through its partnership with Ocean Protocol, will enable that data to be unlocked and monetized in a fair and equitable way.
Bruce, now that we've talked a bit about Boson, tell us about Ocean's data marketplace, how it's gone since launch, what's coming next, and what is it?
So Ocean is about data sharing and bringing buyers and consumers together. We launched V3 last fall, and it was a much lighter architecture, and it's allowed for a lot of innovation to happen in the, let's say, 4 months since we've launched, which is really nice. So Ocean Market, what is it? It's simply an application built on top of the Ocean smart contracts. It's a user interface that exposes that Ocean technology, and it gives people the ability to easily publish data, generate data tokens, and also consume data tokens. It's gone pretty well to now. We have about 5 million total value locked. And within the Ocean market, there's this concept called data tokens, which are essentially ERC20 tokens that represent access to data sets. They're kind of the core, let's say, glue that keeps things together. And what's really nice about these data tokens is not only do they represent access to a data set, they also are completely composable with the DeFi ecosystem. So they can be staked, they can be injected into an automated market maker, they can be used as collateral, whole bunch of things. So it's really compatible with DeFi, which is a really interesting concept because it leads us to kind of the third important piece of our Ocean V3 that we released in October last year, and that is an initial data offering. Because of the unique characteristics of the data tokens, you could essentially have a data set IPOing. And that's a unique concept because what that does is it makes data explicitly an asset that people can monetize, they can use and such like that. And so this is a really interesting concept that we're working on, working with partners like Boson, and we're really excited to continue to work on this and scale this up through 2021.
Gregor, how does Ocean and Boson work together? How does that happen?
So Boson Protocol leverages Ocean Protocol to develop a planetary level Web3 data marketplace for commerce. Commerce is all about what Boson is all about. In this marketplace, data buyers may purchase personal product preference, pricings, and ratings data to predict consumer buying behavior, inform product development, or develop market insights. Boson Protocol involves both supply and demand of data, supply via past customer behavior and more, and demand in order to give recommendations and such. Such commerce data is extremely valuable, and now we have a solution that's, in our opinion, better than the all too familiar harvesting data in silos or the somehow disconnected approach where users would be expected to do the wiring from data store to data buyers themselves. Leveraging Ocean, Boson is able to make use of that data at the point where it is created, so right at commercial transactions, as opposed to wasting the data or value it creates. We aim to make the best of it.
Awesome. So you're taking data out of silos, not just harvesting it into one place, but actually right where it is, that's where you're able to work with it because of Ocean, and then Boson can go forth and do all the cool stuff, making it a whole lot easier for people to basically use data in their applications, and not have to depend on large corporate entities we shall not name at moment. Thank you, Gregor. Yeah. Anish, can you tell us about what you're doing with both projects? How did you get involved, and what attracted you to Ocean and Boson?
That's a long answer. I'll try to summarize it. It's mostly, as they say, running into friends who have interesting stuff, and that getting you introduced to new things. So I've been during my introduction, I forgot to mention that I have a reasonable amount of interest and a reasonable amount of expertise in machine learning. I've been involved in building machine learning platforms for large entities, including large banks in the UK, anomaly detection platforms. And I also have a lot of interest in ethics of AI. So I'm the co-founder of EthicsNet. So, as I said, I've been talking to Trent. We both have a lot of friends, common friends in AI. And we did talk about, things at the intersection of blockchain and AI. And then Trent said, look, I have this idea of actually going in, creating a marketplace for, data. And that to me was an interesting problem at the intersection of both the places. And that's kind of the thesis that everybody that is interested in blockchain and AI was pretty much looking at. AI needs data. And anybody who needs an advantage in the world of AI, other things being equal, the only thing that's going to differentiate you is data. So how could you actually fairly price data? So this is a non-trivial challenge. And, normally I get interested in non-trivial challenges. And it is a journey that Trent allowed me, and Bruce and other people allowed me to, go along and explore bits of it. And that's how I ended up with Ocean. And then along the way, I don't know how I ended up talking to Gregor and Justin, and they seem to have a more interesting take on the new set of paradigms that are emerging, in the last 6 months or so. There's been a whole bunch of things happening. Like DeFi has been really booming since June last year. And what that implied is a lot of things were moving into the DeFi space. And that has also required a bridge between the physical and the virtual world. And where Justin and Gregor turned up with a magical solution to this whole bunch of problems that we are going to have, in addition to having data, having things in the real world, and all these things interacting between each other. So yeah, again, a very interesting and a reasonably hard challenge. And I signed up.
Love that answer. By the way, for listeners who don't know, Trent McConaughey is the other founder of Boson Protocol. I believe that's the Trent you're referring to.
Yes, indeed.
Cool. Just making sure. So I really like the energy you had and how exciting you are that this is a cool problem. Justin Bannon, I have a question for you around tangible benefits for real people. It's great to have cool problems. They're really awesome on paper. I personally love entomology, but it doesn't help anyone's life get better. So can you tell me, what are the real benefits for people with Web3 projects like Boson Protocol and Ocean? Like, how does it help the average person?
I think we would talk about the benefits. We need to talk about the the underlying problem, and the problem is that we have these powerful extractionary platforms that are sort of extracting from individuals and hoarding data and using market power to basically kind of control the market and control our lives. And so in the commerce space, that's not just controlling the actual commerce transaction and extracting excessive value from that, but it's hoarding data. And that is the real intersection between Ocean and Boson. So we seek to sort of disrupt and demonopolize the e-commerce platforms that are hoarding data, using it to gain an unfair advantage, and taking that data and sort of monetizing it and separating people from the value that their data creates. So, you know, we, in contrast, through our partnership with Ocean Protocol, we unlock that data, we make that data available, and when we monetize that data, we share that value equitably within the Boson ecosystem.
Bruce, you're kind of a data hoarder, though. I mean, you have all the data all the time. So how do you unlock the data, right?
Well, you know, the advantage of Ocean is that in opening up a data economy, we give custody to the data owners. And this is possible with, of course, decentralized technologies, because today your data is hoarded by the central platforms and stuff. Lots of disadvantages to this, obviously, right? You lock out the people who actually own the data or should own the data, as well as from researchers who could use it. And so for us, the main thing that we need to do is to have tools that can keep the protocol open and allow for people to start monetizing all this locked up data, while giving people kind of the privacy and comfort so they can feel safe sharing. And the second thing that is the most important that we found is find a way to price the data. If you can put a signal on the economic value of the data, people are pretty much going to demand control back from the internet platforms. And not only that, you can, of course, use the tools of DeFi, collateral, use it as a security, lending, insurance, what have you. And so, you know, Ocean was conceived to provide these tools in an open protocol that does not extract monopoly power, and it glues everything together so that we can turn data into a value producing asset. So that's the core goal that we're trying to do with all of our partners.
So before you worked at BigchainDB, before you worked at Ocean, you also worked at Scribe, right? And Scribe was a product that made it easier for creators to monetize digital property. So you've been working in this, how do you unlock data for people, for a long time, this entire space. Can you tell us how that led to BigchainDB and Ocean? And also what effect has NFTs had, right, on your future trajectory? How's that going? Anish just mentioned all this change happening in the last 6 months. So how did you get to where you are, and how's that moving at the moment?
Yeah, so, you know, Ascribe was really interesting because we struggled with this idea of what's digital value, what's digital scarcity, can you actually own anything that's digital? And we came up with some pretty interesting ideas in grasping the concept that having the copyright, the ability to monetize the data, is more important than having a copy of the data or the digital art. And now people are ready to grasp this concept. So it's really exciting to see NFTs finally explode onto the scene 7 years essentially after we started. But what's good with Ocean Protocol is we took 3 concepts from the Ascribe experience. Number one is that one person or one entity can have the copyright. They have the sole ability to monetize. And so within an NFT, you could also sell the rights to your copyright, essentially move the rights, transfer the rights over to somebody else using NFTs. So the best example is this Beeple sale that went on for $69 million. As far as I understand, the entire copyright has moved over to the purchaser. I think that fellow from Malaysia, and it's unique. That's the only person now who can monetize off that. And so that asset is its own unique, let's say, snowflake. We see the same thing with data. We can do that with data. We allow that capability. If somebody wanted to say this one data set is so valuable, one person or one entity can have the copyright. And the third thing that we took from that experience was, if you own that data set, you could say, let's say there's 10 non-fungible tokens or ERC20, they can be interchangeable. You can choose either one that can access that data. Where is this interesting? Let's say it can be something like a high security situation where you only want 10 different people at any one time accessing that data. So you can track and log who has accessed that. Or it could even be something as mundane as Netflix. A lot of people share the Netflix credentials. Maybe Netflix has, you know, a premium level where you have 3 credentials that you can share amongst family members, but it's an NFT so that you can only share it with 3 people and not with 20 people. as probably today the case is. So the whole Ocean ecosystem is based off the learnings that we had with Ascribe, with the uniqueness of NFTs, but then generalizing that for any data asset.
So Ocean has data tokens, right? And then Boson has things tokens. How are those related? How are they interconnected?
So with things and data tokens, there's a strong interplay. There's a strong complementarity between the two because, of course, the thing is itself the thing, whereas the data token could be kind of meta on top of it, the data about the thing. There was a talk yesterday I attended where it was, consumer data, purchasing behavior, all this kind of stuff, the history, all that sort of stuff, which itself could be a data token. Whereas with Boson, it's the thing that is being bought and sold.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of follow up on that, Bruce. Also, increasingly, we're seeing the thing attached to the data. So this concept of physical twins. So with Boson, we are enabling NFT artists, so with digital art, to deliver a physical twin of an NFT art place, which is kind of this, this digital twin flipped on its head.
That's awesome. And that's really exciting. Bruce, that was really, really clear. I actually understand NFTs a lot more than I used to, just moving around copyright. I want to try something. Anish, can you tell us a bit about what particular, how using these two together is a really interesting challenge and how you've risen to that, or how we're rising to that?
Okay, so the thing that, so just to give you some context, I've known Bruce and Trent when they were running Ascribe. So in Bitcoin as a framework, it had no ability to do what you call the smart contracts, right? So essentially the basis of all this innovation is this ability of data being attached to policies. And that is actually the thing that's driving all of this. Now, one of the things that allows people to actually do what they want is the ability to actually monetize illiquid assets. What I mean by illiquid assets is like assets that, for example, Bruce was kind of describing Netflix, right? The ability to view Netflix. It's a completely illiquid asset, right? And now it's what is literally going to happen, and what Boson and Ocean is now enabling people to do is to create the next level of explosion, which is creating a secondary market for this illiquid assets. So let me put it this way. Bruce described that he can actually have 3 NFTs, right? What he could then do is to us say, look, I'm going to sell one of my NFTs, okay? That then allows him to monetize the NFT he created out of Netflix, right, as a secondary market. And then he could also say, you know what, in addition to allowing you to watch my Netflix, as Bruce Bo, the CEO of Ocean, I'll give you a logo, okay? And you have this ability to buy this, my personalized Netflix thingy that you're going to get. And this literally allows Boson to now come in and enable Bruce to do all the magic, right? A, he monetized an illiquid asset. B, he attached his own personalized thingy he created, allowed the NFT buyer to have the option of buying this, right? So this is literally the new thing. And in a way, what is essentially happening is, if you think about it at a meta level, the secondary market is actually sucking up all the liquidity from the dCommerce space. So the dCommerce space was existing, and it required a new paradigm shift. And literally, that's being enabled by Boson and Ocean. And pretty much as I would describe, DeFi requires data. I mean, there is no way on earth. If you look at any of the DeFi stack, what you see is you will have a subgraph deployed on the graph, looking at the smart contract, looking at transactions that are happening. And everybody says, oh, you know what? Oh, DeFi is this, DeFi is that. As I said, the key thing is data and policy, them together, right? That's the real innovation. And layers on top, build on top. And what actually Boson and Ocean is doing is enabling that. And that's truly unbundling, opening up doors, creating, secondary markets, making illiquid assets liquid.
Super exciting. So like that's the big difference, right? Bruce, do you want to talk about your perspective on that? Do you think that that's like the most novel thing out there, and that's why this is actually a bigger change than say some other startup 5 years ago?
The important thing we've seen is building blocks. The fact that Boson can unbundle and demonopolize the central e-commerce platforms and like have more equitable distribution of value, that is another major building block that we can hook into to allow users to monetize their customer data, et cetera, consent and opt-ins. But the beauty for me is just the thousands of new permutations, ideas, and stuff that developers can build on this open ecosystem to create a lot of value. So we're not going to take down the large platforms overnight. That's just not going to happen. But with millions of developers in 180 countries around the world chipping away at this, you are going to have a spreading out of the value proposition to everybody and allowing everybody to be included in this new economy. And that's what we're going towards. So I think that has the values of what the early developers, what we've been working on for 7 or 8 years, kind of embedded in. And so that gets me very excited.
Gregor, is that what gets you excited as well?
Yes, that's I think developers have a lot to say. Like it's like artists painting a picture of the world and also shaping it in a way as well. And with that, I have to say goodbye. It was great chatting with you guys. Talk soon.
All right. Thank you, Gregor. He has a hard stop. Unfortunately, so do we. So I just want to thank everyone here for coming. This has been super exciting, learning more about Ocean and Boson Protocol, how they work together, how they can do that in the future. I'm really excited. And I just want to ask, does anyone have any final thoughts? Anything they feel like they really had to get out and it didn't quite get there?
Well, just really to echo Bruce's point that, as as much as we're building these amazing things and with Boson and Ocean, I think the real magic that's going to happen is when developers take these core building blocks and build things that we haven't even been able to dream of. And I think that's what we look forward to in the future.
For those of you who are interested in learning more, go to bosonprotocol.io, go to docs.bosonprotocol.io, go to our Gitter channel, go on our GitHub. We have things. I am not as handy with the URLs for Ocean as I would like to be. Bruce, where can people get involved with Ocean?
Just go to oceanprotocol.com. From there, you get all the links to our GitHub, our docs, and our blog and our YouTubes, all that kind of stuff.
Super awesome. That's .com, not .io, which I think is a lost opportunity because the O, of course, means ocean. But anyway, that's great. Thank you so much, all of you, Anish, Bruce, and Justin. This was a great session. We're hoping to have more of these. Tune in when you can, and we'll release them on our social media channels. And for now, have a good day and go out and make awesome things. Thanks, everyone.